So first and foremost, for people who aren't aware of who you are, go ahead and introduce yourself.
All right, so my name is Joseph Mills. You can find me on YouTube and Instagram at Joseph underscore Mills 1411. I'm also on Letterboxd. Just you can just look me up by my name. But my Letterboxd username, if you can't find me by my name, is JRock1411.
Nice. Yeah. I had the idea of doing this a while back with the new Spider-Man movie coming out. I figured it'd be a fun idea. Reach out to a couple of people, but like sometimes it kind of varies on who you're able to get and who, scheduling and stuff. So,
Mhm.
but nice to have you on.
Thank you.
And so, kind of a little bit of a preface. What is your history like with Spider-Man? First and foremost.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I can't remember a time in my life when I wasn't really infatuated with this character. I mean, from
Yeah,
the early days of like the Raimi trilogy, all through middle school, high school, and now in my grown-up life, watching Tom Holland in the MCU, and of course with
yeah,
what Phil Lord and Christopher Miller are doing with the Spider-Verse trilogy, which we'll see the conclusion of next summer. This character is just so iconic in culture. I just feel like it'd be hard to find someone that wasn't impacted by who this character is. I know a few years ago he was Google's number one most searched superhero character ever. I would argue he's the most prolific superhero of all time. Yeah, Spider-Man has just always been like there in my life, and absolutely love the character. I love what he stands for. I feel like I see a lot of myself in the character, especially themes that we saw in this most recent movie, Brand New Day. And yeah, there's just so much that I could say. I mean, if you take a look at my shelf behind me, I've got
oh
a
yeah, I can see all the
Lego
different.
bust, Funko
Yeah,
Pops, posters. I've met
yeah,
Sam Raimi, the director of Tobey
nice.
Maguire's trilogy. Like any, yeah, it's hard to capture in just like a quick preface to the ranking exactly what this character means to me. But as
Oh
you
yeah,
can
for
probably
sure.
tell by everything I'm
I mean,
currently
yeah, I mean,
surrounded by
like
in my
the
frame, it's
the shirt
not
right here is like
awesome.
one of like the Todd McFarlane covers.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, it's honestly it's like one thing that a lot of people seem to forget because I don't know about your age personally. I'm 35.
Okay.
So for me personally, like I grew up in the 90s, which
Mhm.
was like, like both the worst and best time to be like a comic book fan
Right.
because you had like the stuff of like, you had like the Joel Schumacher, like Batman era. We were
Mhm.
starting to get stuff, like the Halle Berry Catwoman movie. Like we got
Right.
Steel and stuff, like Kazam and stuff like we were getting some. And but yeah, a lot of people seem to take for granted nowadays that they always credit like Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man
Mhm.
and like the MCU like as like the big starting point. But what a lot of people tend to forget too is that like it was really the four main ones was really it was the 2000 X Men, it was the Wesley Snipes Blade movie.
Mhm.
There was like I believe like '98, I believe, and
Yes.
it was the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie, and then Batman Begins
Mhm.
was really those four main movies were the ones that were like the kickoff of like of oh wait, superhero movies can actually be like because you had like this evolution of like really Spider-Man was the one that really kicked everything into gear too because it was like
Right.
Blade was the one that was kind of like it was like okay you can do a non comic book movie based off of
Mhm.
somebody that like not a lot of people back then really knew. Like I had kids in my class when Blade came out, they were like, "Oh, Blade's not a Marvel character. That's just a vampire movie." Like people legit did not know he was based on a comic book.
Right. Yeah.
And then like X Men, like it had notoriety for like X Men the animated series,
Mhm.
and like even you look at like the original trilogy, like even the roster of X Men in that trilogy is very heavily influenced by the like the '90s animated series. But
Right.
Spider-Man was the first one that was really like, oh, we can't just do a comic book movie. We can actually do a comic book movie to where like it's like, no, Spider-Man looks like he legit came off of the page.
Right.
Mary Jane Watson looks like she legit came off of the page. Uncle Ben and May Parker, they look like they came right
J.
off
Jonah
of the page.
Jameson.
Like
J.K. Simmons'
Jameson,
iconic
exactly.
performance.
I mean, such an iconic performance that that when they bring him into the MCU, like they can't recast him.
Right, and I'm so glad that
I
they
mean,
didn't for. I'm so glad that they did not recast him for his Far From Home cameo in the mid-credit
yeah.
scene, and then his short screen time in No Way Home. I'm so glad that they kept J.K. Simmons. I think when the first time I watched Far From Home in theaters 7 years ago, that mid-credit scene. I mean, not only was it crazy to for like the turning point of Mysterio revealing Spider-Man as Peter Parker, but also seeing J. Jonah Jameson come back the way he
See, for
did, just with
me,
the
that was
quick
the big
shot,
reveal.
was incredible. Yes.
To me, that was the big reveal because like we had gotten stuff, like the Spider-Man reveal stuff, kind of like a
Right.
little bit like with Homecoming, and we had gotten it, like we'd already kind of gotten used to the fact of heroes being kind of like like announced to the world and stuff like that. But
Right.
like actually seeing like them actually taking the care to take J.K. Simmons from the previous Spider-Man series
Mm-hmm.
and be like, okay, yeah, we're gonna use him to actually like, uh, it's both a way of doing things in a nostalgia way, but
Mm-hmm.
also a way of doing stuff in a way it's like a fun little nod and honoring the legacy and like
Right. Right.
even brief little things of like if you pay close attention for like across the Spider Verse, like the voice lines they're using are like clips from Spider-Man 2, and it's like
Yeah.
J.K. Simmons
Yeah.
does the voice for like the new stuff,
Yeah. That's
during
like
like
the
broadcasts and stuff.
yeah. That's like the Lego scene. I
Yeah,
think it is. Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
use
I
J.K.
knew
Simmons for that too.
automatically that
Like,
was
yeah,
recycled audio from the Raimi
oh
movies.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And even the new audio, it's still J.K. Simmons. They're like, hey, go ahead and have fun with this.
Right.
Got some comments right here, I think.
Okay.
Uh, okay, to Brandy Vincent 4580. So yeah, we are going to be doing a ranking of the 18 live-action Spider-Man movies, as well, 16 live-action, and then the two Spider-Verse movies.
Yes.
Um, so,
Well, I will
a quick
say for my
rundown.
list, I did not have time to watch the 70s pilot, so it's going to be
Yeah,
everything else. Everything else I have ranked. But
yeah, no worries.
so yeah,
Yeah,
for
for
me it'll be
sure.
17, but yeah.
Okay, but yeah, so yeah, it's Nicholas Hammond did a 1977 pilot like TV movie that did get theatrically released briefly.
Hmm.
It was I've got thoughts about it. Like, I mean, it's an interesting piece of history. But then obviously you got the Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man trilogy. You've got the Andrew Garfield, Mark Webb duology of Amazing Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 2. And then you've got the four Tom Holland films of Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man Far From Home, No Way Home, and Brand New Day.
Hmm.
The two Spider-Verse movies, so Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. The Venom trilogy, so Venom Let There Be Carnage, and Venom The Last Dance. Morbius, Kraven the Hunter, and Madam Web. And at one point, like there were a couple of different projects that we did kind of consider adding on here. Like there was like this weird like, and when I say weird, I mean really weird. Like this like Turkish Spider-Man thing called Three Dev Adam, where it's like some dude that's like in a Spider-Man outfit and he's like a serial killer or something, and there's like a Captain America that's like teamed up with like a lucha librador wrestler guy to try and it's something I would recommend trying to hunt it down and watch it just for like the out there nature of it. But it's still kind of weird, kind of keeping it like into like like an actual Spider-Man type because it's not really. It's kind of that weird gray area where it's Spider-Man ish, but it's not
Hmm.
really like
It's not
and
like
like
mainstream like the rest of the movies on the list.
exactly for sure. Like I mean, like at least with Craven the Hunter and Morbius and Venom and Madam Web stuff like that, they're not as like they're not technically like Spider-Man movies,
Hmm.
like like, but they are like key characters in that universe
Right.
that like they are still like connected to that of like they're even like there's like a legal deal like with Sony to where like like it's never been really confirmed fully, but there was like a thing a few years ago to where it was like, yeah, that like there's like a legal deal where every like 4 or 5 years they have to come
5
out with a new
years.
Spider-Man movie.
Yes,
Yeah,
they have to
and
release a new
so
Spider-Man related movie from they have 5 years in between each release date to get the next movie
yeah,
out. And the reason that we got all those horrible villain movies, which you probably to no one's surprise are probably going to be lower on our lists than anything else. The only reason that they made those movies was to retain the license. I mean, all
yeah,
those all like Venom came out in 2018. That was pre-COVID, and then the rest of them that were either in production when the pandemic hit, or they were trying. Like I know Craven was delayed because of the writer strike in 2023. You just get
yeah.
like this big clump of everything that was tampered with in code. Because I know Morbius was supposed to come out summer of 2020. It got delayed for 2 years. That movie was just horrible. And then
Oh,
same
yeah.
with Craven and Madam Web. Just
So many different choices of the villain movies, especially. I think the villain movies and the Garfield movies are going to be the ones I'm going to have probably the most to probably say about
mhm.
on my end because yeah, there's. But yeah, so yeah, to answer your question about that, that's what this is a ranking of these 18 videos with these 18 movies and just seeing and
Yeah.
just kind of like giving like a little precursor beforehand, kind of like setting the tone of like
Yeah.
what they expect. Uh, but yeah, so I'll go ahead and I'll start off. Of last place for me, it's kind of ironic that you just mentioned it a minute ago. For me, I'm gonna go Morbius.
Okay, in last place. Okay.
Yeah, for me, Morbius is gonna be in
Okay.
last place, and really for me, it's just I will got a chance to see Masters of the Universe yet,
Okay.
so I can't really comment on like like how he did like with Skeletor, but like Suicide Squad and this and just a bunch of other stuff that Jared Leto has done, he has made some very bizarre acting choices. And like Morbius is kind of just like one of those ones to where like it's almost fascinatingly bad.
Mhm.
Of like it's one of those things where like of like the trailer straight up just lies to you and is like there's like 5 or 6 main shots to where they're like showing like of like what's clearly meant to be like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man with like murderers spray painting graffiti
Yeah.
and like art new daily beautiful bugle articles like about like about Spider-Man and
Right.
like Spider-Man doesn't get mentioned a single time in the entire movie. Like there's no mention of it whatsoever.
Nor is that graffiti scene in the movie.
Exactly. Like I mean, like there is no. It's like they're like embarrassed to associate with Spider-Man,
Right.
and it's one of those scenarios too, to where like with these villain movies because they're not using Spider-Man, they're
Mhm.
using like these F-list characters that are like to where like okay, you've got Morbius, but then like you've got Matt Smith who's playing like a like so far underknown character that in the comics he's referred to as Hunger
Right.
is like his vampire name, but like he's never referred to that in the movie. And like honestly, he's about the only thing that really keeps this movie from being like absolute just like complete trash because Matt Smith, you can tell he's doing one of those performances to where you can obviously tell that he knows he is in a shit movie,
Right.
but like he is eating it up. Like
Mhm.
he's having a blast with it. Like
Just trying to
just
have fun with
the
it the most
dance
that he can
scene,
and still pay the bills is pretty much what it.
like even like the whole success dancing thing that he does in his apartment, where he's like shirtless and dancing around to the music. It's like he knows this is crap, but he's like, you know what? I'm gonna have fun with this crap. Like this
Yeah.
is crap that I
Exactly.
can have a good time with. So like,
Yeah.
there's that. my mouth was like gaping open like halfway through the movie because they just blatantly like 110% rip off Batman Begins of like the scene where he's just like standing like in the middle of like all the bats with like the music swelling. It's the exact same. It's like it's either the exact same music score
Hmm.
or like one that is like almost the same.
Right.
And like the way the bats flying around him is the exact same. Like when you have Christian Bale and Batman Begins with the bats in the Batcave with him. It's
Right.
like shot for shot, like the exact thing. The only difference is Christian Bale is in a cave and Jared Leto is in like a glass tube.
Yeah.
There's like this weird thing at the end to where like the way that he defeats Matt Smith is, and I could not even make this up if I tried. Is he does some kind of weird like bat kamehameha type thing, like
Hmm.
to where he like energy blasts like a bunch of bats at Matt Smith, and it's like, just,
It's bad.
it's
Oh.
yeah. But so, what about you? What you got in your
Uh,
last place?
are you just gonna run the list, or should we? I know. I think we've done this before on like our super
Did
film
you?
training show. We usually
Yeah.
just if you're okay with doing it like this, just run the entire list, and then I'll run my entire list.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. All right, cool. Okay, so 17 for me. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm probably gonna go ahead and have Madam Web on my list
Okay.
as next. Very similar issue is just that, like, for me personally, it was just one of those scenarios to where, like, uh, there's potential for good ideas here. Like, the actor they have playing, Ben Parker, that's nice. He does a solid job.
Yeah, Adam
Um,
Scott. Yeah.
yeah, Adam Scott, like, there's moments to where there's almost kind of chemistry between the three girls and Dakota Johnson. Like, to where, like, it's like, you can tell that there was some behind the scenes chemistry there to where like they were you can kind of feel a little bit of that
Right.
bleeding through a little bit, but for the most part it's some of the most just cliched stuff and just like just it doesn't really flow together real well.
Hmm.
Like you get introduced to Sydney Sweeney and like the main focus they seem to have on her is like, oh, it's Sydney Sweeney, so let's have her walking around a schoolgirl outfit the entire movie. With like an extremely short skirt. So
Hmm.
like because it's Sydney Sweeney, so like yeah, of course that's what you're gonna
Right.
do. And like she even came out later on and about saying about like she did interviews that like she did that horror movie Immaculate later that year,
Hmm.
and it was like that was like a passion project of hers, and the only reason she agreed to do Madam Web the way that it was and she stuck through with it was for funding so she could do her movie.
Yeah.
So
No, it sounds like it's. I mean, Madam
yeah,
Web was a paycheck movie for everyone involved. Like that, no one cared. It was just I've got bills to pay, so we're gonna do this
well, and
without
what's
caring.
crazy is like the original concept that was pitched initially, right?
Yeah, it was supposed to be about the spider guy, the villain spider, the antagonist coming back in time, almost like a Terminator type thing. It was like
Yeah,
he was supposed to come back to kill the baby Peter Parker. And what you
exactly,
see in the movie is nothing like that. It's just
exactly.
it's just them. I mean, it's basically 2 hours of them running away from Spider Guy. Is all it is. There's
Yeah,
none of that Terminator esque stuff in there whatsoever.
and you
It's
get
stupid.
just enough of a glimpse of each one of them having powers and
Mhm.
having pretty decent looking outfits. Not
Right.
fantastic, but I mean they look cool enough.
Hmm.
Of like and like okay, that's neat. But we get like maybe 3 minutes in total of them actually being having the powers,
Yeah.
and the majority of the rest of the movie is just
And the fact that
whiny teenagers.
there's less than 30 seconds of screen time for any of them in their comic accurate, well, I shouldn't even say
Exactly.
comic accurate, but quote unquote comic suits.
Yeah.
Less than 30 seconds in a 2 hour film, and both times isn't even like they're not played out in real time. It's a dream sequence from the
Yeah.
antagonist, and then the ending shot of Cassandra looking into the future, being like, "Oh, I see you guys, and you're gonna grow up to be strong and powerful women. And when the time is right, we'll be ready. The exciting thing about the future is that it hasn't happened yet."
Well, like, why couldn't we
Like the
get that
absolute cinema
movie?
meme, absolute crap.
Like, where was that movie? Like, the idea of Madam Web actually training 3 Spider-Girls to fight Ezekiel Sims
That would have
is
been somewhat
actually a
interesting.
pretty badass idea.
Right.
Like, actually, to where, like, they actually, where they already have that, you tweak it to where they already have their powers,
Mm-hmm.
and you, like, yeah, they have their powers, but they're inexperienced with their powers.
Right.
They've got this guy who is very experienced with his powers, trying to kill them or trying to kill Baby Peter Parker or whatever, and so they have to, like, do like the whole basic training thing of get better and actually overcome him.
Right.
But instead, he gets taken out by a Pepsi.
And did you notice in Spider-Man Brand New Day, they had all the product placement of like Little Caesars, BMW, Liquid IV,
Yeah,
Tom Holland's beer. Like they had all these companies, and yet you don't see anything Pepsi related. I was when we were on a
yeah,
stream the other night on Instagram, and I made the joke when product placement in Brand New Day came out. Yeah, you didn't see anything Pepsi related because they were disgraced in Madam Web. They had the entire climactic last battle take place under the Pepsi sign. You have that awkward scene at the baby shower where Cassandra's fiddling a Pepsi can for 5 minutes, not even taking a drink out of it.
yeah.
It's
That's another thing too. Is like
Pepsi
you
probably looked at
have,
Sony and was like, "We are done with you.
yeah,
Please
like
don't include us in any more movies."
that was one thing that stood out to me too. Like the barbecue scene where
Mm-hmm.
like she shows up to the baby shower and like she's actually like disappointed and kind of pissed off that they handed her a Pepsi. It's
Yeah,
like
it's just
what
she's
what
like,
what kind of endorsement is
"Oh, what
like
is this?" Uh,
like if they had handed her like a Coke to begin with and she was like, oh well, this kind of sucks, and like, oh, we got Pepsi, and she kind of perks up a little bit. I get that, but it's like, yeah, like you're doing a product placement with Pepsi,
right.
and like you hand a main character a Pepsi, and they're
Forced product
disappointed.
placement at that point.
Yeah, and the character is disappointed that it got a Pepsi. It's like, how is that gonna? People in the audience are gonna be looking at each other, and like the first thing they're not gonna be thinking is they're gonna be like, "Hey, if we get soda from now on, get anything but Pepsi," because
Mm-hmm.
apparently Pepsi is just garbage.
Right.
Like the main character got disappointed,
Right.
so like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Absolute
Sony
garbage
is
film.
the yeah. Sony has made some. They've made some decisions. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So next for me is I'm actually gonna kind of give the Villain Universe stuff a break
Okay.
briefly. Um, I'm going with Amazing Spider-Man 2 as my next one.
Okay.
Just because of Amazing Spider-Man 2, there is so many moments to where you can tell that there are genuinely good moments. Like I think overall the majority of the stuff with Electro is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Like most of the stuff with Electro is pretty good. I think the whole like like the music inside of his head, schizophrenic thing,
Mm-hmm.
is corny, but it kind of works as like kind of like this guy mentally unstable and kind of like showing like a bit of a split personality for me.
Right.
Like so that's kind of grown on me a little bit. Um, Paul Giamatti, him as the Rhino is something that like of like again it's kind of grown on me a little bit of like it definitely has more of that corny kind of like the '60s era Spider-Man kind of
Right.
feel. Of like it definitely like he is a very cheesy character, but
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea at the end of getting like an actual mech rhino suit.
Right.
Like that is actually kind of a cool idea. It
Mm-hmm.
just kind of sucks that they put that in the trailer of having him like as like like one of like the big threat pieces. And it's
Right.
literally just a stinger at the end, teasing the opening of the Amazing Spider-Man 3.
Right.
And like with the Rhino, like it's with him and Green Goblin both, it's really weird because you get like when you get like the majority of like the main posters,
Mm-hmm.
Like it has all of them on the poster.
Right.
Like it's like it has all of them on the poster where it's like, oh, it's going to be a team up movie to where Electro is going to team up with the Green Goblin and the Rhino,
Mm-hmm.
and so like he's going to be trying to take down all three of them at once. And it's like Green Goblin isn't in the movie until like the last like third for the final battle.
Right.
The Rhino is basically a bookend where he shows up, like as like the Russian gangster at the beginning, and then in the mech suit at the end. But that's it. And then it's mainly just Electro. And then there's just weird choices of like Alistair Smythe, the guy who does the Spider Slayers.
Yeah.
He's actually in the movie as like the guy like giving like Max Dillon crap about the blueprints. That's meant to be Alistair Smythe. He's in the movie for like 5 seconds. It's like, oh hey, yeah, like weird as hell. Like they have Felicity Jones is Felicia Hardy.
Mm-hmm.
To where like they seem like they want to set up Black Cat, but like they also like just make her like a generic secretary.
Right.
Um, Shailene Woodley was notoriously cast as Mary Jane, and like has like there are set photos online of like her with Andrew Garfield and with other cast members,
Mm-hmm.
to where it's like she had massive scenes filmed.
Right.
There's a fully finished deleted scene where Richard Parker is actually like he survives the plane crash and he's been like in hiding the whole time. It's like and like even just the start of the movie, like the start of the movie is a recap of the beginning. They made Spider-Man 1, and
Right.
then like this James Bond espionage thing that goes on for like 5 full minutes because everybody always talks about the beginning of being like him falling from the plane and like falling from the sky, like with the spider logo is like, oh, that's the opening.
Right.
That doesn't happen for like the first 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like it's like the James Bond espionage spy crap that thing that they wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And like Dane DeHaan, like he does good when it comes to the Harry Osborn stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But like the stuff when him becoming the Green Goblin, it gets very frustrating because like the motivation of him being the Green Goblin is kind of interesting. Of
Mm-hmm.
like him being like put in this position where he feels like he has to do this.
Right.
Like I get that, but like they do this weird thing to where he looks like this like meth head fantasy goblin type hybrid thing where it's like what is this thing that's like, and it creates plot holes too to where it's like you have like this like highly advanced like military armor that like the whole purpose of this armor is to like stabilize vitals and like rejuvenate the body and like
Mm-hmm.
self healing, and it's like, so why is Norman Osborn not walking around Oscorp in this thing?
Right.
Like you literally have a full like body armor suit that like it's not gonna be a full solution, but
Mm-hmm.
like y'all are he's got like seconds to live, and it's like y'all have the suit to where it's basically like a walking life support machine to where it's like, yeah, like
Right.
it's like what's going on with that? And like, so the one thing that keeps it a little bit higher for me personally is that I do think that Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone do still have amazing chemistry.
Okay.
Like they still have fantastic chemistry together, and I believe at this point they were dating in real life, and it bleeds over.
Right.
And so, but even with them, like there's stuff to where like it gets so convoluted even with them. Of like there's like this whole subplot about like she's moving to London for college, and
Mm-hmm.
like he's cracking jokes about fighting Jack the Ripper, and like like and knowing Sony, they probably would try doing something like that. I mean, like, but I will say I think they actually did a good job with the death of Gwen Stacy's story arc.
Mm-hmm.
Of like, it's a little heavy-handed getting to the end goal, but the idea of replacing the iconic bridge sequence, where literally you have Peter Parker trying to literally stop time
Mm-hmm.
That's actually like pretty clever. That's actually a change I like. I wouldn't mind them using that in a future project down the road,
Right.
again in a different Spider-Man project. Because it's actually like a really like it adds like it keeps the essence of the original idea there.
Right.
But at the same time, it's kind of like that's actually like a really like poetic way to kind of like he's literally trying to hold back time and like freeze time in that moment to save her, and like that's just not possible even for Spider-Man.
Right.
So yeah, but yeah, like this is just a movie that like overall it just has a ton of issues. Of like it is, yeah, it is rough.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's one
Because
of those ones that it's not even really so bad it's good either because there's just so much there,
mm-hmm.
and like the espionage subplot like goes so deep to where like I forgot how long the movie actually was before watching it, before
Right.
rewatching it, and it's like rewatching it is like, oh my god, this movie is horrifically long,
Mm-hmm.
and like is like every single character has a subplot. To where
Right.
like there's like Aunt Megan's subplot. There's a subplot with the Daily Bugle. There's subplots with like Felicia Hardy, Harry Osborn, Norman Osborn. With Gwen
Mm-hmm.
Stacy. Peter's seeing hallucinations of like he's being guilt tripped by Dennis Leary. Like the ghost of Captain Stacy.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mean, there's just so much stuff that's just like crammed deep in there because they wanted to get a Sinister Six,
Right.
and they wanted to like make this into like this big franchise thing, and it was kind of the Avengers kind of like symptom of like, oh, we have to have a shared universe.
Right.
And so like yeah, they were wanting to do like Amazing Spider-Man 3 and 4. They were wanting to do Sinister Six. They were wanting to do Venom. Like
Mm-hmm.
one of the original trailers actually shows like the Venom symbiote in the thing,
Mm-hmm.
like in the montage where like you're going to get like the Rhino suit.
Yeah.
There's a shot in that's still in the movie to where when they go to the Rhino suit, it shows off the vulture wings and the Doctor Octopus arms.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like these big schematic things. It's like there's like a 5 minute schematic in credit sequence that like is just there to be like just slowly showing off blueprints, schematics, and different like concept art of like Hunter, Mysterio, Doctor Octopus,
Right.
the Vulture, like Green Goblin. Of like it's like, guys, what are you doing? You're teasing this in the post, in like not even a post credit scene,
Just
in
the
like
credits.
end credit like background artwork. You're trying to like give information on like the Vulture and Doctor Octopus
Right.
and Mysterio and Kraven the Hunter and Chameleon, and it's like, what are y'all doing? Like, it is just like, yeah, it is rough.
Yeah. Definitely.
But yeah, next for me, I'm gonna probably say Kraven the Hunter.
Okay.
Actually, just watched this for the first time earlier today,
Okay.
and this was another one that it was just like it's very forgettable, very just bland and generic, and just some of the stuff that is in there is just kind of like, what were y'all thinking?
Mm-hmm.
Like of like, there's literally a line in the movie to where like he's having a conversation with Calypso, and she's talking about like, oh well, my grandmother died years ago, and I haven't talked to her since.
Yeah, I remember
And
that.
like even Aaron Taylor Johnson's kind of like, you have a moment like even Craven's looking at her like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, like she died. Like
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to talk. She's dead. Like,
Yeah.
do you not know how death works? Are you five? Like,
I think that's a point where AI may have crept into the writing process because that line was just
yeah,
so. Oh my gosh! I actually,
yeah,
I've
because
not,
like,
I've only watched Craven the one time, and it was in theaters almost 2 years ago, and I'd completely forgotten about that line until now.
oh yeah, it's one of those lines where it's like it was like it got scripted,
Mm-hmm.
it went through producers, and then two actors went into the same room and were like, you know what? This got multiple like thumbs up from several people. That's a line that they were proud of. And the thing is Craven the Hunter went through massive reshoots.
Right. It's
It's like how bad was it to begin with to where like to where it was that bad
mm-hmm.
to where it was kind of like, okay, what was the worst version of this? If
Yeah.
this is what we got.
Yeah. It's
The
hard to
only thing
like.
that the only thing that kind of saves it slightly for me is the fact that it is the only time we get an R-rated version of one of these
Yes.
characters.
Yes.
And so, like, the moments where it's allowed to go R-rated and brutal and gory
They
is
do.
pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so it gets a little bit of a pass for that. Like it bumps the enjoyability up slightly, but
Okay.
not by
Yeah.
much.
Right.
But like it's like between this and the Amazing Spider-Man 2, I would probably rewatch this first,
Mm-hmm.
just for kind of like a dumb enjoyment factor. To where the Amazing Spider-Man 2 feels a lot of times like a chore.
Yeah. I could see
Like the
that.
Amazing Spider-Man 2, like if I'm gonna watch, like I'll watch moments of it. Like I love like the Times Square sequence and like the sequence that's like like the end battle of Electro and Green Goblin.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love those two sequences. But like if I'm gonna rewatch anything from the Amazing Spider-Man 2, it's gonna be that stuff, and I can just YouTube that. Like
Right.
I'm not gonna sit there and watch through the entire movie of all the espionage, like convoluted crap to get to it.
Right. Yeah.
Like so. Craven the Hunter, I can at least see it's not gonna be often, but I can at least see being like okay, dumb schlock fun
Mm-hmm.
of here and there. I could see it being decent enough,
Right.
a good enough time to pass.
Right.
But yeah, so and Rhino just looked ridiculous. Like
That screech that he does when the guy comes in and says half our guys are dead, and he's just standing there like, and you can tell the I forget the term, but like ADR, I think it is, like after
yeah,
like the noise, like obviously he's supposed to make another noise, but he's just standing there like,
or it sounds like somebody like a strangled rubber duck or something. Like it's like yeah, it is like
it's horrible.
yeah, it is.
I
It
gave all the
is
villain
something else.
movies a chance, and with Craven, of course, being the last one, I'm sitting there in the theater being like, I'm ready for this universe to die. Like I don't care if
Yeah,
this is the last one anymore. Let it end.
yeah, exactly. I definitely agree with that sentiment of absolutely like of that was kind of last straw.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like it being R-rated, it gives it a little bit of a pass, but not by much.
Right.
Um, for me, up next, I'm going to go 1977,
Okay.
and just really not really a whole lot to say about it. It's just kind of like a baseline origin movie for Peter Parker becoming Spider-Man. There's no main like Spider-Man comic villains in it. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's like apparently the show didn't use any of the villains for the movie or the show,
Mm-hmm.
which was kind of an odd choice. It's kind of like just like a bunch of like generic gang members and stuff. But for like a like a 70s version of seeing like Nicholas Hammond does a pretty good acting job as Peter Parker.
Mm-hmm.
There's moments to where like like there's decent action moments with his version of Spider-Man. Um, but yeah, there's also moments to where like they show him like like crawling on buildings and stuff, and it's like painfully obvious that it's like him like on like a green screen to where like either like the buildings are like super flat to
Mm-hmm.
where you can tell it's just like a picture that he's just walking across,
Yeah.
or it's just like you can tell it's off.
Right.
But there's enough like enjoyability enough there to where it's like okay, like but I'm probably never gonna rewatch it again. I might check out a TV series at some point because it's only I think like 13 episodes or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, like that's where it's gonna fall right here. Is
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
but yeah. Next up, I'm gonna probably say is for me, I'm gonna go with Venom the Last.
Okay.
And for me, this was a weird way to end off the Venom trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was like the Venom movies in the entire Venom trilogy in total was just like a weird kind of mishmash of like kind of like like things of what exactly are we doing here? Like what are we like? So many bizarre choices,
Mm-hmm.
but this one is kind of like there was a lot of buzz around like Reese Fawns.
Mm-hmm.
Like he ends up being cast, and so like a
Right.
lot of people were wondering initially about like, oh, is he going to be Kirk Connors?
Mm-hmm.
Because from the Amazing Spider-Man, and it was like, no, they just cast this.
Just this random hippie guy.
Yeah, like who like if you take that hippie family out of the story completely, like it impacts nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Like of like there's like a like very brief little kind of subplot with them
Right.
kind of running through to where like it kind of sort of affects Eddie and Venom a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like you could have very easily remove that and replace it with something much more simple and like it's just
Right.
like yeah,
Yeah.
it was just we finally get to see Noel in live action,
Right.
but he's like sitting in a chair the entire time
Mm-hmm.
and sending off these generic monsters. They're just kind of like I don't know the xenophage thing if that was something from the comics or something,
Mm-hmm.
or if it was just kind of like something that was just like we just need a generic creature for this movie, and
Right.
so like okay, here we go. Like we don't want to actually use Noel because that would actually be interesting.
Right.
Like so, like it's like we're gonna show Noel a couple of times, and we're gonna have him narrate and like threaten that he's coming, but he's never actually gonna come.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like, and you can tell there are issues with the script in of itself too, because they're like, there's like the first time that like they get attacked, like Venom like starts freaking out, and he's like, like about the whole Codex thing, and because he saved Eddie's life once in the first movie, it
Mm-hmm.
created like a special bond that's like a tracking beacon for them now,
Right.
to where like Noel was able to now track them. It's like okay, first off, uh, immediately, why wasn't this the plot of the second Venom movie? Like, why is he waiting until just now to where it's like at least a couple of months have passed
Mm-hmm.
to where Eddie and Venom have been a thing for a while now?
Right.
Of like, wouldn't he be sending them off like as soon as that thing activated? Like it just like, and then as important as a subplot as that is, you get like this like they bring back Mrs. Chen, like
Mm-hmm.
the Asian
Yeah.
supermarket lady,
Mm-hmm.
and like Venom is kind of like, oh okay, like we're gonna go full on Venom to dance.
Right.
It's like, dude, you have been stressing for like the past 30 minutes that like if you go full Venom, these things are gonna know exactly where you are and be able to track you down. It's like, ah, screw it. It's gonna be funny to see Venom dancing. So like,
Right.
he's gonna be an idiot. And he's gonna dance around for a little bit, and they immediately get found. And it's kind of like, okay, that's script writing nonsense. Of like,
Mm-hmm.
why are you? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, it
Does
was
not make any sense whatsoever.
exactly. Um, Tom Hardy and Tom Hardy has like some decent chemistry with Venom
Mm-hmm.
of Steel, but you can tell it's kind of starting to run on fumes a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Of like, and they're starting to get a little bit to the point to where like it's kind of starting to wear out its welcome a little bit, and it's not really like working out as well as it should. So yeah, it's just a disappointing end to the trilogy, and the fact that we kill off Venom at the end of the movie,
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't once get to see like the iconic like White Spider even
Right.
once, like even tease it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That's disappointing.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it's gonna be placed pretty low.
Mm.
But yeah, so um, Up next for me, I'm gonna say Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Okay.
And I always get crap for this, but Homecoming is one of those films that I kind of like a little bit less each time that I watch it
Okay.
because it's one of those films to where like the majority of the film is mostly just Peter whining about wanting to be an Avenger,
Mm-hmm.
and like it's like it gets very grating. Happy in this movie is insufferable. Like Happy is just like a douchebag of a character, like uncharacteristically so.
Mm-hmm.
Like he is just so bitter and just like, and there's never any explanation really given for it of just like because he's better with Peter in the next couple movies,
Mm-hmm.
and like but like even when he's talking to like Tony and stuff, like he's got like it's kind of like bitter undertone to where it's like we skipped over something.
Right.
Something happened between him and Tony, like between Civil War and this.
Right.
Something very severe happened to where like, cause like that's not the character that Happy is like normally. Like I mean, his name is Happy for. I mean,
Right. Right.
like, and yeah, like I mean, like I kind of get the idea of like the frustration of Peter, of like this kind of nagging teenager all the time. I get that being frustrating, but like with other characters as well, he's also being kind of like just like very bitter, obnoxious, kind of like just kind of
Mm-hmm.
like very not enjoyable actor, enjoyable character to be around.
Right.
And likewise, like Liz Allen for me out of all the movies, like she is probably the worst love interest that we've gotten
Mm-hmm.
because there's nothing to her.
Right. And then of course
Like
after that movie you don't see anything about her again because
exactly,
her
like
dad, the
I mean
vulture's in jail.
exactly. I mean the most interesting thing about her is that she is the daughter of the Vulture.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it kind of makes Far From Home and No Way Home a little more frustrating as well because you spend so much time in Homecoming focusing on Liz Allen
Mm-hmm.
that like that stuff that if you had been focusing on MJ in that movie a little bit more, focus on her and start to kind of explore the idea of her and Peter having a crush on each other. Because
Mm-hmm.
they kind of tease it a little bit with her having a crush on him, but he doesn't really acknowledge her in any way whatsoever.
Right.
And then Far From Home, like he's like head over heels in love with her,
Yeah.
and that always came off a little kind of like okay, like I get because it's MJ, like, but
Yeah.
hey, yo, Channing, how's it going? But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's like a very weird way to take things of like, yeah, like and it takes away from MJ because like it's screen time that could have been used to further develop that relationship between her and Peter,
Right.
and so yeah, like it gets frustrating,
Mm-hmm.
and like Michael Keaton, I do think he is a good. I think he is pretty good as a Vulture. Like he
Mm-hmm.
definitely elevates the movie pretty good. Like I mean, I like the idea that we got a version of the Vulture that isn't just a 85-year-old bald guy just like in like a feathery wingsuit.
Right.
Like you have like the idea of like, okay, this guy's called the Vulture. Let's actually make him like a terrifying, deadly villain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I actually like the idea. I think they do make him a little too powerful.
Mm-hmm.
I do not like the idea of having an in battle with in a Spider-Man movie, to where the only reason Spider-Man wins is because the villain basically beats himself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially to that degree, like about uh, like because yes, Joe Shannon, we are talking about Spider-Man. We were doing a ranking of the movies. But yeah, it is just frustrating because people argue to me sometimes of their reasoning behind why it's not an issue is like, oh well, like in the Raimi films, like Willem Dafoe and Alfred Molina and Topher Grace, they kill themselves like during the battles, and like you don't have an issue with the Raimi films,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like okay, true, but like I mean like there is like a little bit of nostalgia there for the Raimi films. I will
Right.
admit that wholeheartedly. But at the same time, in each one of those scenarios, there are moments to where like Spider-Man being there directly leads to their downfall.
Right.
Like it directly leads to their downfall and then being defeated.
Mm-hmm.
If you have something to where like apart from him actually crashing the plane, once the plane lands on the beach, if he just gets knocked out
Mm-hmm.
during that battle, it's the exact same end result.
Right.
Like maybe like the end result is Vulture ends up dying because like he doesn't get like like taken out from underneath the rubble of like the hot suit.
Mm-hmm.
Like so maybe he like actually dies. But like as far
Right.
as actually like of him being taken down, like at the end of the day, like regardless of Peter being there or not, he's going to end up losing at that point, regardless of if Peter interacts or not.
Right.
And that's kind of frustrating of like about being like really like I want Spider-Man to actually impact like the actual like especially if it's a character like the Vulture.
Mm-hmm.
Because like the Vulture is not one of those characters that is like, like he's not one of like the top tier like like Green Goblin or Doctor Octopus or Venom or Craven to where it's like
Right.
it makes sense to him being this overpowered. It's the Vulture.
Right.
And it kind of puts him in a scenario too to where like a little bit too about like uh like he it's why he struggles so much really, especially in No Way Home.
Mm-hmm.
You really see that he kind of struggles, and it's not until Brand New Day to where he's really in kind of the groove of actually being able to fight like sufficiently and hold his own.
Mm-hmm.
But like there's things in No Way Home to where like pretty much every time he gets into one of the fights, he's making out by the skin of his teeth.
Yeah.
And there's the whole thing with Mysterio to where like in Far From Home, but that's largely due to it being like more illusion tech more than actual powers.
Right.
And like he does have one of the strongest spider senses. I'll give him that. Like his spider sense, especially after Brand New Day, is like through the roof now.
Mm-hmm.
So like, but yeah, and yeah, it's just a frustrating film.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, in the comments for this. But yeah, like it's just I've given it multiple shots and I can't vibe with it. Like the Liz thing, the Vulture stuff. Like I mean, it's just like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the Shocker stuff is corny as all hell. Like yeah, it's not for me.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Up next, I'm gonna say Venom Let There Be Carnage.
Okay.
And for me, the Venom Let There Be Carnage is very frustrating on multiple levels. First and foremost, just the idea of that we're putting Carnage in a PG-13 movie
Mm-hmm.
is just like, why? Why are we
Yeah.
trying to do PG-13 Carnage?
It doesn't work. It's
Like,
Carnage
and
is
you,
it's got to be rated R or else it doesn't work.
oh yeah, and you can tell that there's moments to where they wanted like R-rated moments.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
you can tell that there's moments to where they wanted him to like go all out, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
nope, PG-13. You got like I don't know if you watch Ryan George who does the pitch meeting videos.
Mm-mm.
Look up the pitch meeting for Venom Let There Be Carnage.
Mm-hmm.
It is hilarious because like he talks about like the whole thing of like like the whole birth of Carnage and like when he like comes out and essentially it's him like doing like it's like little like 5-6 minute like little rants about like
Mm-hmm.
he talks about like he's basically a studio executive pitching
Right.
movie ideas like just kind of pointing out kind of like the goofy kind of like side of like some behind the scenes stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But he gets to stuff about Carnage, and he's like talking about all this stuff about like, oh, we're gonna have him like rip a guy in half and like tear his head open, and like he's gonna do this, and the other guy's like, dude, PG-13. And he's like, oh, I guess he's gonna shoot a tentacle across the room and like impale a guy and like
Oh
stick his
man.
tongue down a guy's throat and
Yeah, that's
like,
about what we got.
and then you try to make Cletus Cassidy like sympathetic.
Hmm.
Of all the Marvel characters you try to make sympathetic, you're gonna try to make Cletus Cassidy sympathetic.
Right.
Like
Just doesn't
it,
work.
yeah, it is. It's a choice for sure. Like I mean, like uh, Woody Harrelson is entertaining enough as Carnage.
Right.
Like I mean, like he's entertaining and like he like the stuff that he's given to do is entertaining.
Hmm.
The actress playing Shriek, I don't know what was up with that accent,
Hmm.
but that was just I didn't vibe with Shriek at all in that movie. I mean, like yeah, I do like the fact that we actually get to see Venom and Eddie in the movie together. Like this is
Hmm.
the most we actually get to see them as like the Venom Eddie dynamic, where we actually get to see Venom pretty much right from the start. So
Right.
that's nice. But also like of like in regards to like him and Carnage, like with a movie called Let There Be Carnage,
Hmm.
we don't get a whole lot of Carnage.
Right.
Like Carnage himself only gets like 3 or 4 like main action sequences. It's
Right.
a lot of Woody Harrelson just as Cleus Cassidy,
Right.
and like they'll do like tentacles coming out here and there. But like as
Hmm.
far as actual Carnage goes, it's like it's kind of underwhelming.
Right.
Like, and so that's a little frustrating. And yeah, to close off, Venom up next. Uh, I'll put Venom a little bit higher than Let There Be Carnage, personally, just because I think Venom, like, it takes longer to get to the actual Venom dynamic,
Hmm.
and that part is slightly frustrating. But I think this is where Tom Hardy is probably like the best as Eddie Brock.
Right.
And so like I think that like him as Eddie Brock is enough to keep going just enough until we get to Venom. And Carlton Drake is an extremely generic villain,
Hmm.
but he's one of those guys that like he might be extremely generic, but he's somebody that is kind of so much of a douchebag that you just really want to see him taken down.
Right.
Like the entire movie, you're just waiting to see him get his comeuppance. And
Hmm.
like so he doesn't have as high of like the charisma or screen presence
Hmm.
as like Woody Harrelson does,
Right.
but he's more memorable overall because of like he's slightly more layered, and because it's not Carnage, it's just somebody like Riot.
Right.
Like you're not doing such a massive disservice to such a main character. You're just taking like a side Venom villain. It's kind of like,
Hmm.
okay, you can have dumb enough fun with this.
Right.
So yeah, so yeah, that's where Venom's gonna land for me.
Okay.
So yeah, up next for me, I'm gonna say the newest film, Brand New Day,
Okay.
and Brand New Day is interesting. Um, there are spoilers for Brand New Day. Just heads up of like for anybody watching this, there are going to be spoilers involved in this. So if you haven't seen Brand New Day yet, click away. Come back later. But there are about to be spoilers for this, and I know Joseph is going to be doing spoilers on his end whenever he talks about it as well.
Hmm.
So yeah. With that said, though, it's a good movie. It's probably one of Tom's best performances as the character. Like he does a very solid job, and I really enjoy the way that he does things. But it's like we finally get our reveal of Scorpion after all this time, and he's in the movie for like 10 minutes, and that's like really after all this time, like of like you put him into marketing and like you hype him up as he's gonna be like this big main villain, and then the main villain of the movie ends up being Jean Grey.
Hmm. And half the time,
And
in half of Scorpion's screen time, it's not even him anyway. It is
yeah, it's
him
him
being
being
possessed by
controlled
Jean Grey.
by Jean Grey.
Mm-hmm.
And in regards to Jean Grey, also is, hey, CG anime fan, how's it going? Morbius is my favorite of the films that don't have Spider-Man as the main character. As a big fan of vampires and gothic imagery, Morbius is up my alley. There's a lot ironic and ironic charm to it. I can definitely see enjoying Morbius as just kind of like a generic vampire movie, like for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, how you doing, CG anime fan? But yeah, so yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like I was about to say, in regards to Jean Grey, also is like I've been watching reviews of several people who have already seen this too. She's straight up psychopath
Mm-hmm.
to like and a degree to where it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like I get what people have been trying to like have been defending her actions of like, oh well, like she was desperate, she was trying to get to her sister, and it's like there's at least bare minimum like, 5 different moments to where like she has had where she's like in a position to where like there's nothing going on around her
Mm-hmm.
or anything going on that like is like time sensitive or anything to
Right.
where all she has to do is look at Peter and be like, hey, my sister's in danger, I need help.
Mm-hmm.
To look at the Punisher and be like, hey, my sister's in danger, I need help. To look at an actual Avenger in the Hulk and be like, hey, my sister's in danger, I need help. Like you have direct access to the Hulk, who
Right.
has access to multiple Avengers, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like and if you reach out to several of the Avengers, like damage control in the past has already been known to be extremely shady behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And so like once you start digging into that, like I mean like but yeah, they make it to the point to where like she is and they pull WandaVision on us at the end to where it's like, oh, okay, well she learned her lesson, so it's okay.
Right.
I Spider-Man 2 would be number one on our ranking. I think that it has the best character arc for Peter Parker that I've ever seen in any adaptation. Also, Doc Ock is my favorite Spider-Man villain. Well, CG Anime fan, I will tell you that you are going to be very happy with my ranking of Spider-Man 2. I will, without saying too much. But yeah. Um, but yeah, it's just one of those scenarios to where, like, yeah, and it makes it to the point to where when they get ready to do X-Men,
Mm-hmm.
like Sadie Sink has already been confirmed about she's going to be one of the X-Men.
Right.
And so like of the recent casting that was done with it was her, it was Kit Connor, I believe, as Cyclops,
Mm-hmm.
Christopher Abbott, I believe, as Professor X,
Yes.
Adam Driver as Mr. Sinister, Indy Navarrete as Rogue,
Mm-hmm.
and then Maya Boyd, I believe is her name, as Storm.
Yes.
And so I do like the fact that they are mostly like unknown characters, like unknown actors, doing these roles. Apart
Right.
from like Adam Driver, like I mean, like Adam Driver is like he's gonna be the high profile name.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see how you don't start off that movie though with her without her being on Sinister's side,
Right.
like to where you don't have her at least start off the film as a villain
Mm-hmm.
because of. And I've never personally seen Stranger Things, but I have heard a lot of people say that it is something that the actress apparently is known for.
Right.
Is that the character she plays in Stranger Things is very similarly someone who is very kind of like emotionally distant and kind of
Yes.
jaded and kind of just like uh,
Right.
very hard to sympathize with.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if it's an issue of like the actress or if it's like like just a screenwriting thing or.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just weird. Like the first main X-Men character you introduce, like apart from Deadpool and Wolverine, like the first main universe X-Men character you introduce is going to be the main universe and not like a multiverse, cameo fest.
Mm-hmm.
And you're using Jean Grey. and you're making her the psychopath.
Right.
Sadie Sink is really good in Stranger Things and The Whale. I have also not seen The Whale, but yeah, it's like, and the thing is you don't even really touch really on anything regarding the Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
As like, okay, well maybe this is like maybe this is an era to where like she's like in like her Phoenix phase or anything. This is just supposed to be like base Jean Grey.
Right.
And so it's like it also kind of brings to mind about kind of like, okay, what do we do when we actually get to Phoenix?
Mm-hmm.
Because when we get to Phoenix, the whole thing of her becoming the Dark Phoenix is like the whole point is that like she ends up getting into this point to where she goes down this very dark, evil path and has to be brought back to the light. And it's like,
Right.
well, one, now that's going to be repetitive because we've already done that in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, if just her sister being kidnapped sent her off this bad, what is this evil cosmic energy inhabiting her mind?
Right.
Like, how is she just not going to instantly like want to like just destroy the universe in seconds?
Right.
Like, yeah. And so yeah, that's frustrating. I do like that we got Savage Hulk back. Like, it was nice that we got Savage Hulk back. Like, I felt that we got him like a decent amount. Since it's already been 2 Phoenix films, I don't need another Phoenix film anytime soon. I will say that for me personally, I do want them to eventually adapt the Phoenix Saga again, but I want them to go ahead and take their time. Like, the one thing I'm glad about with the recent, X-Men announcement is we did not get an announcement for Magneto, and we did not get an announcement for Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably the best part of the announcement, in my opinion. Is that we're staying away from Wolverine right now. We're staying away from Magneto. Let those characters breathe. Give them space. We have been on from every single movie has either had Wolverine or Magneto as the main focus, and I love the characters, but introduce them later on. Now, I've been saying for a while, Wolverine, do Alpha Flight, do Weapon X, do some solo stuff with him first, and then bring him in. Do like X-Men 97 has been doing. Sure, he's a supporting character, but it doesn't become Wolverine and pals. Like, so, yeah. But yeah, CG, I definitely want to see Phoenix Saga down the road, just not anytime, again, like you said, not anytime soon at all. But, like I was saying with the Hulk, I'm glad we got Savage Hulk back, and they didn't completely ignore the Professor Hulk stuff. They show a very big escalation of it, to where they make it clear to where like there's like layers to it.
Mm-hmm.
I was slightly kind of like a little bit of like when he was talking about like controlling the Hulk. It feels like they can't quite make it their mind what they want to do with that, because like it's like by the time you get to She-Hulk, like he is completely in control. Like Avengers Endgame and She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, he is completely in control. And then you get to the post-credit scene at Shang-Chi, and now he's back being just Bruce Banner again, and it's kind of like, okay, something's like something's off here. And then here again, he's still sticking to the Bruce Banner stuff. But yeah, it's just
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah. But yeah, no big thoughts really on like Tombstone, Tarantula, Boomerang at the beginning. Like, like they were fun enough little, like little cameo appearances. Like, I don't think Boomerang actually even shows up on screen. You just see his actual boomerangs. You don't actually see the I think you get like
just a quick shot of like the comic cover recreation.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Ramrod, I think is another one that shows up like very.
Right.
But yeah, like so yeah, there's that. But yeah, so that's where Brand New Day is gonna land for me.
Okay.
Up next, I'm gonna say Spider-Man 3.
Okay.
And Spider-Man 3 kind of has the reverse of Spider-Man Homecoming for me. in the fact to where Homecoming, I think, gets a little bit worse with age. I think Spider-Man 3 actually gets a little bit better with age.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'll get out of the way right now. Yes, the Bully McGuire stuff is very cringy. Like, it is like the whole. Like, I remember going to see Into the Spider Verse and like the whole thing at the beginning of like them like they're like, oh, we don't really talk about this.
Right.
Like, I thought that was funny, but yeah, like I think the stuff with Toby with the black suit
Mm-hmm.
before you get to all the Venom stuff, I think the majority of the black suit stuff actually works really well.
Right.
Of showing him as like really showing this more violent, aggressive side to him.
Mm-hmm.
And also really like I mean like a bunch of people have talked about in the past before too about like the idea of the symbiote enhances, like personality traits and everything. We have already seen through the first two movies, people seem to forget. They're like, oh, in Spider-Man 3, Tobey Maguire is just acting like a dork. He is just like he's just this massive goofy ass dork who is just like he is just like he is so dorky. It's like,
Right.
did you not watch the previous two movies? He's a humongous dork in those first two movies. This is just that dorkiness heightened.
Right.
Like you take those dorky aspects and you heighten them even more. Uh, it's in the audio commentary. Sam Raimi says it best. Uh, what would happen if you gave a guy with a dorky, nerdy personality like Peter Parker, and you made him think that he was cool?
Right.
Like, because that's the thing is like the entire time you're seeing Peter and the way he's acting, he legit thinks he thinks he's like Mr. Big. He thinks he's cool. Like about like he actually like is like all cocky and like like he's actually like hey yeah for sure. Spider-Man 3 has problems, but there's a lot of great stuff in it. It's a film that I have a soft spot for. Perfectly said.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tom Satan Church, I love him as Sandman. I did a really good job. Um, I do think that, and No Way Home kind of touches on this a little bit as well, that like his motivation is kind of a little sketchy towards the end. About like it gets kind of a little convoluted and kind of like he goes like into like oh, I want to be just a straight up murderer now.
Mm-hmm.
Like he makes that turn a little bit too fast. Of like he joins Venom a little bit too quickly.
Right.
And like I don't know if you played any of the tie-in games, like the movie games,
Mm-hmm.
but the movie game for Spider-Man 3 actually does it a little bit better to where Venom kidnaps Penny. And so that's actually the reason that you're at the construction site there is you're not there for Mary Jane, you're trying to save the kid.
Right.
And so like he's being forced to like work with Venom in that scenario. I feel like that would have worked a little bit better.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, so yeah, his stuff is kind of real sketchy. In regards to Venom, I understand to an extent what they were doing with Topher Grace.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you know nothing about the comics or Venom or Eddie Brock, and you just look at kind of like a mirror image Tobey Maguire, Peter Parker,
Mm-hmm.
you can kind of see what they're going for a little bit with Topher Grace's Venom.
Right.
But on the other hand, like forcing Venom into the movie, when Sam Raimi has made it clear multiple times that he doesn't like Venom,
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't understand the character of Venom, he doesn't understand the hype around the character.
Right.
Like it just doesn't resonate with him.
Mm-hmm.
Forcing a director to use somebody like that, like it's going to be a recipe for disaster.
Right.
And you can feel this kind of back and forth to where like when you get to like the third act climax of you have all these shots where like Venom is doing like all this cool badass stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and then like it's like, oh well, we hired Topher Grace and we're paying a shit ton of money for him. You need to show us Topher Grace's face.
Right.
And so it's like, yeah, so we're getting like Topher Grace, like trying to do like these corny one-liners,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, dude, we're here for Venom. We're not here for Eric Foreman from that '70s show.
Right.
Because I was a big fan of that '70s show, like growing up. Like I used to watch it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I heard that was who they chose for Venom, even before seeing the movie, I was like, wait, what? That's who you chose for Venom? Like the scrawniest, like just whiny, like nerd boy, like huh?
Hmm.
Like that that threw me off.
Yeah.
But yeah, um, I do think that Harry, like James Franco as Harry, like he actually gets a full character arc in this movie.
Hmm.
It finishes off his character arc throughout a trilogy, and it's a nice way to tie things up with him. Um, I will say that like MJ is probably the least horrible in these movie in this movie. Like because there's that kind of meme going around that a bunch of people talk about of like about Kirsten Dunst as MJ is kind of just kind of like a horrible person. And rewatching the films is kind of like yeah,
Yeah.
her version of MJ is definitely problematic.
Right.
This version I think is probably the least problematic of like of it is frustrating that all three movies she cheats on somebody.
Hmm.
Like of like every single movie, like about like that's kind of like a weird story direction to go. And they also got put in a weird situation with Gwen Stacy too because when they were designing the character of Mary Jane for the original Spider-Man,
Hmm.
they blended the characters of Mary Jane and Gwen Stacy into one character for the first movie.
Right.
And so when you get to Spider-Man 3 now, and you're introducing Gwen Stacy as a new character, Bryce Dallas Howard doesn't really have Spider-Man 3 feels a bit messy when it comes to the villain stuff. It feels like it's struggling to three different villains. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely agree with that. It does not know what to do with three villains.
Hmm.
And for me, that's why the Amazing Spider-Man 2 is so low on my end, is because the Amazing Spider-Man 2 saw that, didn't learn from it,
Hmm.
and tried to do the exact same thing and more.
Hmm.
So that's why the Amazing Spider-Man 2 is much, much lower on my list because of that. But in regards to Spider-Man 3, though, like, yeah, it's just one of those scenarios to where it's like, it gets very frustrating because, yeah, like, you have three villains, and like I was out there with Gwen Stacy, you have the whole thing with her. She's not really given any kind of, she's just kind of like a generic character.
Hmm.
Like, she's not really, because most of her character traits were already given to Mary Jane, she can't really have any of the classic Gwen Stacy characteristics.
Right.
So she's just like the nice, kind, like sweet blonde girl.
Hmm.
And she's not really given much besides that about like, uh, okay, she's kind of clever, kind of like Peter is. Like she's smart too. Like they do the whole like will they want that thing with her and Peter and Bryce Dallas Howard does good with what she's given, but she's just not given a whole lot really to work with. So
Right.
yeah. I remember feeling disappointed about Harry Osborn becoming a new Goblin instead of the second Green Goblin. Yeah, that's another thing too. Is like, I'm glad you did bring it up because like, the whole ninja snow border goblin thing that they did with Harry, uh, it's grown on me a little bit, and I think the design does kind of work and feels like something that version of Harry would design.
Hmm.
But like, it's like very frustrating too because like when you actually get introduced to him taking the goblin serum for the first time, like you show like this chrome mask with like gold eyes and like this goblin glider in the background that's like four times the size of Norman's glider. And it's like,
Hmm.
oh shit, what are we about to do with this? Like we're about to have like I thought we were gonna be doing like hobgoblin or something. And we're gonna be doing like it's like jacked up like humongous goblin armor and glider. And then it's like nope, like ninja snowboarder. Like it's like okay, like that's a weird choice.
Right.
Like okay then. But yeah, so yeah, that's it gets kind of frustrating for that right here. But up next on my end, I'm gonna go with No Way Home.
Okay.
And so for me personally, No Way Home gets very frustrating because once you get to the bridge sequence with Doc Ock showing up,
Mm-hmm.
and you actually start getting, you start getting, Doc Ock shows up, and then you get, like the brief glimpse of Green Goblin. You get Sandman and Electro showing up. You get the Lizard.
Mm-hmm.
You get closer towards the back half, and you get like 30, 40 minutes with Andrew and Toby. That's
Right.
just all awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's just amazing. It's got the laziest way to get there. Like it, the payoff of getting Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and their villains into the movie
Mm-hmm.
is like the payoff. It has amazing moments. Like it has some fantastic moments that are like really like some of like the best Spider-Man moments that we've gotten.
Mm-hmm.
But like the way to get there is like you have to make Doctor Strange and Peter Parker like the dumbest characters ever,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like we've done different. It's especially frustrating too because at this point we've done the Spider Verse stuff so many times in comics and TVs and video games and stuff
Right.
to where like there's various different ways that you can like. And we did Into the Spider Verse like 3 years previous,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a fantastic way to go ahead and do that type of storyline, bring the different Spider people together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the way that they do like the forgetting spell is like, oh well, it's like first off, I'm going to agree to wipe out the memory. No Way Home has lots of things that doesn't make sense, but as a spectacle film, it's amazing. Yes, I will agree with that. It does have a lot of spectacle to it, CG. But yeah, it's one of those things to where not only does Doctor Strange immediately like have no issue of like wiping out like the memory of the entire world. Like, he
Mm-hmm.
goes along with it way too fast. Like he's actually the one who suggests it. And then you get to the scene to where like Peter's like talking about like everybody who has to like be exempt from the spell, and it's like, wait, y'all have been preparing for this for like the past 15 minutes. Like you didn't pull him off to the side for a minute and be like, all right, look here. How exactly do you want this to go? And you know that by everybody forgetting, it means that everybody forgets, no exceptions.
Right.
Like we're dealing with advanced magic that borders on like interdimensional rifts. If we screw around with this too much, it can have catastrophic consequences. Are you sure this is
Mm-hmm.
what you want?
Right.
And not only that, but you get to like they're actually like doing the spell, and he's like, he starts throwing out like like MJ and Ned and Aunt May and stuff, and it's like okay, like the first one or two, it's like okay, cool, okay, hey Doctor Reeves, how's it going, man? It feels like No Way Home throws Doctor Strange under the bus in order to make the plot happen. Oh, absolutely. It uses him as a plot device and then abandons him in the mirror dimension.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it uses him as a plot device, steals his sling ring for Ned to use later on, and then abandons him in the mirror dimension until the third act. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. But it's like even the stuff of like when he's casting the spell, and it's like the first like I said, the first or second time, it's like okay, like yeah, just calm down with tampering. But he lets him tamper with the spell 5 times in a row without shutting it down.
Yeah.
He doesn't immediately like be like, dude, like no, pause. Like we're not doing this like until you figure out what exactly it is you want. And then Peter reveals like, oh, like he hasn't even talked to the Dean of Admissions about this stuff, and it's like Strange didn't even think to ask him about that to begin with. Like you're telling him about college issues,
Right.
and you didn't think to ask, like, okay, have you explored other options? And then he gets pissed and being like, oh well, you asked me to tear apart, like to make the entire world forget, and you didn't even do this. And it's like, well, yeah, you didn't bar an ass.
Right.
Like I mean, like you're like, and like they try to sugar it off. It's like, oh, I forgot you're just a It's like
Mhm.
it's kind of like a Deadpool 2 meme of like, with Ryan Reynolds, like, well, that's just lazy writing.
Right.
Like, I mean, that's what that boils down to. It's lazy writing.
Yeah.
But yeah, and like I was saying with Thomas Hayden Church a minute ago, again, it doesn't make sense why he goes villainous in this movie.
Mhm.
Like, because he makes it very clear, like, like whenever they're talking about, like, oh, well, what do you guys want? He's like, oh, I just want to get home to my daughter. It's like, how is you destroying this box and killing Spider-Man going to get you home to your daughter?
Mhm.
Like, your Spider-Man is even telling you, like, hey, we're trying to help you. We're trying to send you home. I don't care. I don't want to get sent home. Like, screw you. It's
Mhm.
like, dude, like, he's trying to give you literally exactly what you want.
Mhm.
And yeah, yeah. Um, I will say, I think that them changing out Uncle Ben for Aunt May, that was pretty clever. I did not see that coming. I did not see that coming with them, like doing Aunt May being the with great power comes great responsibility. I thought that was a nice little twist.
Mhm.
For me personally, I think Zendaya and Tom Holland probably had the best chemistry in this film. I think that they probably had the best chemistry as far as like a couple goes, and like you actually like they actually rival Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone for me in this movie. Of really having that kind of like stuff of to where they had that their chemistry is just so high to where you
Mhm.
really buy into their relationship. And
Right.
so I like how that's done. Very nicely done. But yeah, it's just also one little nitpick that I didn't bring up in Brand New Day. After the spell later, her and Ned would never be friends.
Mhm.
Like I mean, like it's just like their personalities clash too much. They would not be friends. Like
Okay. Yeah.
it makes no sense to me at the end, and especially in Brand New Day that they've been hanging out and being roommates, and like yeah, that to me that doesn't work.
Okay.
That dynamic to me just doesn't because they're best friends because they're best friends of Peter.
Mhm.
So I always kind of I noticed that especially on my last rewatch about like it's weird that her and Ned are hanging out like about like is Ned just like does like now that he's forgotten Peter like does he now have a crush on MJ or something?
Mhm.
And like I got little glimpses of that a little bit in Brand New Day a little bit about we're kind of like about like is there always anything around her because he's crushing on her or what exactly is
Right.
Uncle Ben not being mentioned and by Tom Holland's Peter Parker has been a big problem for me. Yeah, I feel like it's kind of it feels weird that the only mention of Uncle Ben that we've gotten is one little one-off line in What If during the Marvel Zombies episode, because that's technically supposed to be the same Peter Parker, and it feels kind of weird that's the only mention we get. But yeah, but yeah, like I said, I think just getting like the three Spider-Men together, while it is kind of a little bit convoluted getting to the end goal, getting to see the three of them together, just getting brief moments of getting to see like moments to where you have like Green Goblin is fighting Spider-Man and he's fighting specifically and he's knocking them off of the railing and he knocks MJ down and then Tom jumps down to save her but he gets pulled out of the way and you're like oh crap are they actually going to kill MJ and it's like
Mhm.
Andrew Garfield sees and he's the one who saves her and you get kind of like a redeeming moment to where like he was able to while he wasn't able to save Gwen in his universe, he was able to prevent the heartbreak of another version of him to where he has that kind of redemption to where
Right.
and if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure Andrew Garfield is one on record saying that he was actually the one who recommended that.
Mhm.
That he was saying that like, hey, wouldn't it be kind of neat like if we did something like that to where like we have a scenario to where like we have like me save this version of MJ as kind of like a redemption.
Right.
And so yeah, that was kind of cool. And I grew up on Tobey Maguire films, so more Tobey Maguire, never gonna be an issue for me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, No Way Home, I'd
Awesome.
say flawed but fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Up next for me, I'm gonna say Into the Spider Verse.
Okay.
And so for me, Into the Spider Verse is I enjoy it for what it is, and I think it's got a lot of really fun moments, and it's nice getting to see like more versions of Spider-Man. Like it was one of the first times I got introduced to characters like Spider Ham, Spider Gwen. Um, I already knew a little bit about Spider-Man Noir because of the Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions game.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of knew a little bit about him through that. And so it's kind of cool actually getting to see him actually get like a theatrical role. Thought it was kind of
Right.
neat. Wasn't a big fan of the way Kingpin's design. I like Kingpin's design was a little too cartoonish
Mm-hmm.
almost of like where's the dude's neck at? Um, I do think Miles Morales he does have a very good hero's journey. I like seeing like the way that he's like explored and seeing seeing how he ends up getting to the point to where he actually becomes his own version of Spider-Man.
Right.
I think at some points it does kind of meander a little too much and does lean a little too much into the comedy almost to where it
Mm-hmm.
feels like they don't quite have the balance yet,
Mm-hmm.
to which we'll get into here in a little bit. But overall, yeah, I think a solid overall movie. Uh, had a really good time with it, and so yeah, this is where it's landing for me.
Okay.
Um, Up next for me, I'm gonna go Far From Home. And for me, Far From Home, I think is probably my favorite and most rewatchable of the Tom Holland films, largely due to Jake Gyllenhaal.
Okay.
Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio is just a ton of fun and very charismatic, and I like the way they handle Mysterio to where they do it in a way to where you can really see him go either way. Of like you're questioning the motives the entire movie of like, is this Mysterio is this like a legit actual hero Mysterio?
Right.
Or like does he have something like up his sleeve or like he's actually is this just another schemer? And it turns out he's
Mm-hmm.
another schemer. But like even like brief little moments of like there's like a moment like early on to where like whenever when Peter and his class first get to Europe,
Mm-hmm.
when they first get there, a lot of people miss Beck is in the background watching him.
Hmm.
Like he's off in the
Interesting.
background, like looking at like a tourist map or something, where he's already watching Peter and kind of like keeping an eye on him a little bit. And like it's a blinking or
Oh.
missing moment. But yeah, he's
Yeah.
in the background and because and the reason I know about it is because I watched one of like the Everything Explained videos by one of the I don't remember the channel, but
Mm-hmm.
somebody did a video where they're talking about like all the different Easter eggs and stuff. And they're like, yeah, Mysterio's like right there, like in the background, and once you see it, it's like, oh crap, how did I not notice that? But
Yeah.
it's like it adds another little layer to him,
Mm-hmm.
and I do think they make Samuel Jackson a little too quippy. He gets a little
Mm-hmm.
too quippy in this, and I can't stand the character of Brad. Like Brad is just
Yeah.
an insufferable douche. And I kind of get that's the whole point of the character is kind of like
Right.
you're supposed to have this kind of like competing love interest,
Mm-hmm.
like that's supposed to be kind of like just a major asshole.
Right.
And also, it's like with the love interest between Tom and Zendaya, I felt like this is where it was handled probably like the best in terms of setup of
Okay.
I think No Way Home has the best version of them as a fully fleshed out couple.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Far From Home does a really good job of really kind of navigating that really kind of like awkward era of like how do you tell your crush that how you feel about her there's this other guy constantly screwing things up. You're in Europe, like trying, like enjoy like like a school vacation and stuff,
Right.
and there's all this other stuff going on, and on top of that, you're Spider Man.
Mm-hmm.
So like I thought that was handled really well. The drama there was handled pretty nice, so I had fun with that.
Right.
So yeah, and I love the Mysterio illusion sequences, especially like the first one that you get to where like he is just messing with Peter the entire time. Yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
it keeps on layering up and up and up and up and up to where like
Right.
just when you think that like it's ending, it's like a new twist comes in and it's like, oh no, it's not done yet. Like, and it's like it takes you a minute to actually like realize like, okay, now we're done. Like this is actually
Mm-hmm.
like through. And
Right.
I will say Mysterio does become a little too bloodthirsty at the end. Like he kind of
Okay.
becomes a little bit too like of really like, okay, I'm just gonna murder everybody. Like that
Mm-hmm.
that kind of comes out of nowhere a little bit to an extent. And also like just the idea of like one of the main channels I follow a lot is Sean Chandler Talks About.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, during his review, one of the things that he has a major complaint with is like, what is Mysterio's end goal here? To where like it's like uh, you want to fake being a superhero to like where you're the strongest Avenger, and it's like what's gonna
Mm-hmm.
happen like when you do get recognized as one of the strongest Avengers, and like an actual Avengers level threat does come up.
Right.
Like what are you gonna do then? Like because it's like, dude, like
Yeah.
you're smoking mirrors. Like the drones are only gonna do so much. Like I mean,
Right.
so yeah, I hadn't thought about it until I watched this video, but I'm like, yeah, I kind of see that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So up next for me is gonna be Spider-Man One, the original Tobey Maguire,
Okay.
and overall just a very solid origin story. Like I love like the way that it's like uh, I said before, Kirsten Dunst. Yes, there's some problematic moments with the way that they handle kind of like the love story between her, Harry, and Peter. It's like
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel like in a little bit of to an extent, I can forgive it in this one enough because like uh, one, they're just fresh out of high school,
Mm-hmm.
and like also like it's very clear in that movie that like all three of them are trying to find themselves. And so, like, while it's in no way, by no means condones her behavior, or is like, okay, well, like,
Mm-hmm.
like her cheating on Harry is like, like anyway, like, hey, like, good job on that.
Mm-hmm.
No, like, it's definitely problematic. But at the same
Right.
time, like, it's also something that you kind of see a little bit of where it kind of comes through at. And to her defense, a little bit, I will say, is the 90s Spider Man series, the animated series.
Mm-hmm.
Kirsten Dunst is not the first person to act like this. The animated version of MJ is like constantly complaining about Harry and different boyfriends and stuff, and being like of like so like it's like
Mm-hmm.
if you're gonna acknowledge one of them, you kind of gotta acknowledge there are some of the other ones that are kind of like of to where like
Right.
of so. Also, Harry said some rude things to her because of his father's toxic impact on him. Exactly. That's another thing people seem to forget too. Is like yes, while MJ is kind of bratty and kind of obnoxious and kind of yes, she does cheat on Harry. Harry's also kind of a douche in this movie too.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's kind of like he doesn't really help the scenario, and he doesn't really get much flack as she does. Like there's not much
Right.
given towards him or Peter. It's always aimed directly at her, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
no, it's all around. Like they're all kind of like they've got moments to where it's like there's problems with all three of them.
Right.
But yeah, with it being like the origin movie though, and like actually getting to see the way they're dynamic between the three of them is handled. I like how it's handled. Willem Dafoe
Mm-hmm.
as the Green Goblin. Uh, I will say that the armored look of Green Goblin is a little goofy. But
Mm-hmm.
like even like the most recent rewatch I did of like if you notice like the back half of like the helmet, even has like purple tinting
Mm-hmm.
to it. That's a nice little
Right.
touch of like yes, it looks goofy, and I think that like they learned and did better with Doc Ock and Sandman, especially of getting something more
Mm-hmm.
comic accurate. But considering that
Right.
what we got, I think was overall pretty good. And people don't give enough
Yeah.
credit either. Is like the suit looks kind of goofy. I think that's probably the best
Mm-hmm.
Goblin glider we've ever gotten.
Right.
The Goblin glider is badass. And the pumpkin
Right.
bombs, like I love the idea of like the pumpkin bombs being like like these more tech based where they're not actual pumpkins. Like because like in some continuities
Mm-hmm.
they're like literally like exploding pumpkins, like
Right.
little miniature flaming pumpkins. So we're like that would look a little weird, but
Right.
yeah. So yeah, for me that's where it's coming in at number three.
Okay.
Um, Up next for me, and this could really kind of like the next two could really kind of go back and forth really for me. But for right now, I'm gonna say Across the Spider Verse.
Okay.
And first and foremost, one thing that like a lot of people really complain about that I disagree with completely is Across the Spider Verse is absolutely a complete film.
Mm-hmm.
Like like you cannot call Across the Spider Verse an incomplete film, and then the next video you do, you're talking about films like Empire Strikes Back or Infinity War being the greatest movies of all time. That's
Right.
because like that's literally what it is. It's the second part in a planned out trilogy. And
Right.
really, if you look at like you get a full story in this with Gwen. Like yes, with Miles you do get stuff that is lingering that needs to be answered in Beyond the Spider
Mm-hmm.
Verse. But Gwen gets a
Right.
perfect beginning, middle, and end. And
Yes.
like she gets a character arc to where like it's even mentioned at the beginning of the movie. She even makes it very clear this is her story. It is her story of she is
Right.
relaying what happened of like of all this
Mm-hmm.
stuff, and it's kind of like a like before going into battle, kind of recapping everything that happened that led to this moment with the Spot and everything that he's doing.
Right.
And would it be like calling Infinity War not a full film? In my opinion, yes, because you with the reason I chose Infinity War, and Empire Strikes Back as my two examples is because like the Across the Spider Verse, they both end on humongous cliffhangers. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but they also end in a way to where they end in a way to where like they are full films in and of themselves,
Mm-hmm.
but they also like absolutely set up for something else. Across the
Right.
Spider Verse does that. It is its own film, but it's setting up for Beyond the Spider Verse and future stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, no hate towards Infinity War. Uh, Infinity War is a movie that I do have a variety of issues with that I'll get into another day because I'm not trying to make this a 6 hour video. But um, yeah, but yeah, no hate to Infinity War, no hate to Empire Strikes Back. But like yeah, I just find it a little hypocritical on my end that if you're going to give as much praise to those movies and raise those as high as possible, and you might have different opinions on your end in regards to Across the Spider Verse and the cliffhanger stuff, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking forward to hearing where you place it and everything on that. But yeah, it feels a little hypocritical to be like, if you're going to give high praise to those and then desecrate something else because it's just kind
Mhm.
of like, oh well, like you know, boo hoo,
Right.
like if it's kind of a little iffy to me. But
Right.
I also like the idea of like how they tie in multiple different eras for Spider-Man.
Mhm.
Everything with like where or not and stuff with Spider-Punk, Spider-Man India, like
Right.
like these are characters I'm finding out about for the first time. Like
Yeah.
I knew of Spider-Man India very briefly, like I knew kinda ish of it, but I didn't know
Mhm.
like to the extent of like like the Mumbattan stuff or anything like that. Spider Punk I literally
Right.
knew nothing about. Like he shows up and I had nothing about that. I didn't know about the Spider
Right.
Rex or like the Peter parked car thing, like where it's like a car version of Spider Man, the Spider Cat.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
the idea of them bringing in stuff like Spider Man 1967 and bringing in like Spectacular Spider Man. I never watched the Spectacular Spider Man TV show, but I can only imagine for
Right.
the people who did that had to be like a mind blowing moment. Just seeing
Mhm.
like that character like appearing on the big screen after asking for him
Right.
to appear for so long, and he's finally there.
Yeah. Honestly.
And then you
Honestly.
get like the Insomniac Spider-Man games in the background. You get like
Mhm.
they even deep cut, and they're like like there's like the Green Goblin from like the Atari 2600 game, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's like it's one of those things where like you can basically screenshot any point in the movie, and it is just like a masterpiece of like it's
Yeah.
just beautiful to look at, and like of like you can just freeze frame the entire movie, and you're gonna find some kind of Easter egg in pretty much every
Right.
screenshot of like just
Yeah.
nonstop Easter eggs, like whether or not it's a version of Spider-Man or if it's like a different villain or like
Mhm.
different background characters. The stuff with the Spot showing up
Right.
in the Venom universe and being like like oh
Mhm.
you seem pretty cool with this, like you act like weird stuff like this happens to you every day, doesn't it? And she just kind of gives them the kind of side eye a little bit, and it's kind of like, well, yeah,
Right.
it absolutely
Yeah.
does. Like, but yeah, and so yeah, obviously our process of elimination, Spider-Man 2 comes in first place for me. And
Awesome.
so yeah, for me personally, I just think that they took everything that was great about Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst, and James Franco. They elevated them. I love
Mhm.
Alfred Molina as Doc Ock, and I think that he has some of like the best moments, and really just getting to see the way that he plays out and his character arc through the film. And it's the only time really too to where like you really get much of a horror Sam Raimi too with the hospital scene
Right.
of like
Yes. With the
to where
tentacles
like
everywhere and
yeah, I can only imagine taking a little kid to see that in the theater back then and thinking they're seeing Spider Man and being like, I mean, that had to be scary as hell. Like, because it is
Mhm.
straight up out of a horror movie. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
that is Evil Dead Sam Raimi right there. Like, that is,
Ab-
yeah,
Abso-freaking-lutely. Yes. And it's
yeah.
awesome.
Like, yeah, it's so cool. And it goes on for like 4 minutes. Like,
Mhm.
it goes on, and it's like, yeah. And yeah, CG anime fan, I agree. Yeah, Spider Man 2 is a masterpiece. Like, it is. It's got a few, like, very tiny, minuscule flaws here and there that if I
Mhm.
wanted to, I could pick apart. And John Jameson, I feel like we should have gotten more of him in the trilogy. Of
Right.
like, I would have much preferred to see him compared to Eddie Brock in the third film. Honestly, it would have made more sense. There would have been more of a
Okay. Yeah.
like like Spider-Man stole his girl. Like I mean, like
Right.
that guy getting the Venom symbiote would have been interesting. Or doing the whole thing that they did in
Right.
the comics, like Man Wolf or something. That would have been interesting. Like, but yeah,
Right.
like yeah. So yeah, that's my list on my end.
Okay. All right. Well, I won't take up too much additional time because I know you've already hit on a lot of the beats for each movie, but I'll run
Oh, go
through
for it,
my
man.
list
Go into
really
as much
quickly.
detail as you want.
All right. All right, so number 17 at the very bottom of the list is Madam Web. This movie is trash. I think we've all agreed. We talked earlier, and I'm sure most Spider-Man fans and just movie fans in general agree that this is one of the most horrific pieces of film ever made, and how it got made the way it did boggles my mind. It's I I don't know. I asked my mom 2 years ago when it came out, 2.5 years ago now. When it first came out, I asked my mom to come see it with me, and because she does not really get into superheroes that much, but at the same time, I knew me going, I was going to be going alone, because and just sitting there in an empty theater to watch Madam Web by myself. So I asked her to come with me, so that way I wouldn't be alone, and even she was
Sharing
able to
suffering.
recognize how horrible the movie was, and it was hilarious.
We
So
wanted to spread the suffering.
yeah, I'm like, if I have to watch this, you're watching it with me, Ma. It's no getting over
Yeah.
it. So yeah, number 17 is Madam Web. Number
So
16
were
is
you
Craven
going
the Hunter.
into with Madam Web?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Were you going
Yeah.
into it hopeful, or were you going into it being like, okay, this is gonna be
I
bad?
kept I kept cautious optimism for all the villain movies, and each
Yeah.
one let me down somehow. It's mind-boggling. But so
CG
yeah, that
anime
was number
fan.
17 at the very.
Madam Web is a film that I like for how silly it is. It's not great though. I I can see getting some enjoyability out of that.
Yeah. You kind of can. I know one of our Super Film Trendy co-hosts, Hayden. I know he said before that he found enjoyability out of it. I've got to really ask him about that and like just ask him what exactly he enjoyed, because I found nothing to enjoy about it. It
I mean,
was
it's
crazy.
got some so bad it's good moments here and there,
hmm
but like it's one of those things where
I
like
find that more with Morbius, because I saw Morbius in theaters twice, thinking it was tolerable, and I'm like,
yeah,
I don't know, but.
yeah.
But no, at the bottom of the list is Madam Web. Number 16 is Craven the Hunter. This also, I mean, not as bad as Madam Web, but still a quite bad film in my eyes. I mean, Craven was actually the one that the villain movie that I was excited about the most, but after being delayed due to the strikes in 2023, being pushed all the way to the end of 2024, by the time it came out, my hype had kind of died down for it, and reasonably so, because that movie, like I said, is just bad. It probably similar to Madam Web and Morbius in the villain universe. You can see exactly how much was reshot and like what all was included later as the rest of the film. Like in the middle of the film,
Oh,
there's just this
absolutely.
jumble of scenes that doesn't feel like anything, and it's like it just becomes unclear what exactly you're watching. So
Well, even
yeah,
you mentioned
Craven,
earlier,
and
like
like you
the
said,
ADR,
yes, the
like the
ADR with
ADR.
the Alessandro Nivola in that one scene going the or whatever it was that he did was
Yeah,
absolutely horrific. So yeah, no,
CG anime
I
fan.
do. I
I remember I remember laughing a lot while watching Craven the Hunter, so I had a good time, even if the film isn't well done. Yeah, I feel like laughing at Craven the Hunter is kind of more accurate than laughing with it. Like it's
yes,
not in on the
absolutely,
joke.
right,
It's the
absolutely, and
butt of
it's
the joke.
trying
It's
to
not in on the joke, but it's trying to be in
exactly,
on the joke.
exactly. So yeah, Craven, and I like you said earlier, I applaud the fact that they went all the way with Craven and made it rated R. They needed at least one R-rated film related to this IP, and even if it couldn't be done with Venom Let There Be Carnage, I'm glad it was done with Craven, because the parts where
Yeah.
it needs to get violent, it absolutely is. So that's where it kind of shines for me. But other than that, it's just very, very dull. So number 15 is Morbius. This is one, like I said a minute ago, I saw it twice in theaters, thinking it was at least tolerable and some dumb fun. I've not watched it all the way through since. It's just a movie that again, you just look at it and you're like, how did this get made? How did this get signed off on with people at Sony saying, like watching the footage and like watching these scenes unfold, and it makes you wonder how many people had to like go along with groupthink bias of being like, oh yeah, this is actually pretty good. How many of them are sitting there in like meetings quiet and they're just like, this is one of the worst things we've ever put to film. Like, how are we
Yeah.
doing this and expecting a good return on it? Like, and you could arguably say it made a good return because obviously the memes, it's more been time. It got re-released a time or two because Sony thought we were being serious, and we're like, no, this movie sucks. We're making fun of it because it's bad. It, yeah,
Oh,
just
I
another
almost
one that boggles my
forgot
mind.
too. I almost forgot too. I
What?
forgot to even mention in my placement until CG brought it up. Michael Keaton's role in Morbius is one of the funniest things in film history. He just shows up as
Tell
Vulture,
me about it. How?
and like,
Like, I
and it's
brought it
like,
up on our stream the other night. I brought it up on a Super Film Training stream the other night. Explain to me, in what universe does it make sense for Doctor Strange's spell to send Michael Keaton to the SSU when he was already home in the MCU?
yeah.
Makes no sense whatsoever.
My reasoning for it personally is that it had to do a little bit of, it was a mix of that and the Super Collider from the Spider-Verse. That had to factor into it a little bit,
Yeah.
maybe. Kind of.
So my,
Because I will say, Across the Spider-Verse does kind of address it to an extent, not necessarily with that specific scenario, but just the idea that, like, since No Way Home and Into the Spider-Verse, people have been slipping in and out of different realities nonstop.
Right.
And so, yeah.
Yeah. My only guess as to how that scene would make sense is if, well, I mean, there's no way that the scene makes sense, but like because like I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, Morbius was supposed to come out in 2020, got delayed because of COVID, so it came out in 2022. The fact that you don't see the spell until No Way Home, which was December of 2021, leads me to automatically know that that scene was just a toss-in, and it makes me wonder whether or not Michael Keaton's Vulture was, because there's a scene in the trailer where like he's surrounded by like cop lights, I think it is, and like he looks at Michael Morbius, and he's like, "What's up, Doc?" And it's like they took out the scenes he was originally supposed to be in and included him that way, and the logic behind it just makes no sense, other than to later, and as you see in the second mid-credit scene, I guess you could say, because there's no post, he finds Morbius and he's like, I'm gonna go to New York and find this Spider-Man guy because I think the reason I'm here is his fault. And so, like, Sinister Six setup, obviously. If it wasn't blatant enough in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, it's blatant enough in the Morbius mid-credit scene that they're like, oh, we're finally going to get our Sinister Six moment. Holy crap. No payoff whatsoever. Absolutely not. So yeah, 15 is Morbius. Number 14 is Venom: Let There Be Carnage. This is one where it starts to, because like when it comes to these films, Morbius, Craven, and Madam Web are the absolute bottom of the bin for me. I absolutely will not rewatch those movies willingly. Venom: Let There Be Carnage is where it starts to really turn on how tolerable I find the movie. I mean, I enjoyed it for what it was at the time, but I've not gone back to rewatch it since. You were right earlier, Carnage needed to be in an R-rated film. You can't justify putting that kind of character with a pervasive history of being violent, bloody, and gory in the comics in a movie that's rated PG-13 unless you're purposefully trying to censor it to ensure PG-13 to make like more kids and families go to the movie when it hits theaters. And I think Venom knew that. The people behind the Venom movies knew that because they knew that in this universe of villains, the Venom movies were the only ones like making decent returns, because the
Yeah.
majority of people know who that is without knowing anything about the Spider-Man related characters or anything like that. People know who Venom is. They do not know who Morbius, Craven, and Madam Web are. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, I hate that they had to censor Carnage because of that. Woody Harrelson in the movie is fine as Cletus Cassidy. He definitely seemed more menacing in the mid-credit scene of Venom. But I
Oh yeah.
still enjoyed his presence. I still enjoy the back and forth between Eddie and Venom a lot. So Venom Let There Be Carnage starts the turn of where these movies are actually tolerable for me. And I will say, as I get into the rest of the ranking, it's not necessarily that I find any of these movies bad, because, like I said, Morbius, Craven, and Madam Web are the only bad ones.
Yeah. To
This
me
is just
with
where I start to. What is it?
to me for Let There Be Carnage, the one thing I found kind of frustrating was that like we didn't even get like an R-rated extended cut, like for physical.
Right. Yeah.
Of
Hmm.
like, and you would think that like as much of the backlash that it got to where like they were at least like I understand like like getting like a PG-13 initial release, but
Hmm.
give it like an R-rated release too as well to see like how it responds and like do like
Right.
something about like play around with the idea like with all of these actually like and what's frustrating to an extent is like the majority of these of you have
Hmm.
storylines like the Lethal Protector storyline, Maximum Carnage, Craven's Last
Hmm.
Hunt, like big iconic storylines that have Spider-Man in them. That if you had made
Right.
slight alterations and made this an R-rated universe, you could brought in a
Hmm.
ton more money. And
Exactly. Yeah.
can you imagine if you renamed this Maximum Carnage and you actually like even if you
Hmm.
didn't want to do Spider Man, just like use like Scarlet Spider or like one of the other different ones,
Right.
like one of the side spiders or something. And yeah,
Right.
like Venom the Last
Yeah.
Dance. Like one thing I forgot to mention about that on my ranking is that to me felt like it should have been less Venom the Last Dance, and that
Hmm.
should have been the moment to where, especially with the way things were going, you should have taken the characters from Morbius, Madam Web,
Hmm.
Craven, and Venom, and you should have committed to the idea of a null symbiote invasion, and you should have made Venom
Right.
3 your Avengers movie.
Right.
These characters having to team up to take down this
Hmm.
alien invasion, and no, it
Hmm.
would not have been Sinister Six. Like it would not have been Sinister Six, but you could have done something there that could have been like, okay, this is fun. Getting to
Right.
see Craven the
Exactly.
Hunter, like just the bare minimum idea of Aaron Taylor Johnson and Jared Leto and Tom Hardy immediately gets my brain going. I'm kind of like, that might work. Well, I could
Right.
see something there about like, and there's multiple different moments, and you feel like to an extent that they're almost embarrassed to be in the same universe.
Right.
To where like to the best of my knowledge, the only moments that we
Hmm.
really get mention of is because Madam Web takes place in like 2003, so it
Yes.
takes place like chronologically, it's like the first in the timeline. But like
Hmm.
as far as like Craven the Hunter, I don't think mentions it at all. And Morbius just makes kind of like a few offhand remarks of like, oh, the incidents in San Francisco. And then
Right.
Morbius jokes
Yeah.
that he's Venom at one point to like scare a thug.
Yes. Right.
But apart from that, like there's no connective tissue with these. Like they could each be their own separate
Absolutely
universe
not.
and it changes nothing.
Right. So yeah, Let There Be Carnage is one that I like I said, sort of start to tolerate that universe more, but even then there's nothing redeeming about the villain universes, I don't think. So yeah, number
Oh yeah.
13, or sorry, 14 is Let There Be Carnage. Number 13 is Venom the Last Dance. This was one that I again kind of was able to tolerate. Wasn't the best movie, but also wasn't the worst. I liked the inclusion of Null. I liked the I felt like if they were going to end the universe, I feel like this one should have been the last movie because, like you said, it is,
Oh
like the
yeah.
title said, it is the last dance. It gives a great ending to the character arc of Venom, especially Venom and Eddie, to where you see Eddie's Eddie's gonna start living his life without Eddie, and then, or sorry, Eddie's gonna start living his life without Venom, and Venom is gone. So I do think that that should have been the definitive ending for the universe. And I think it was planned to be because, like I said, Craven was delayed and it ended up coming out after Venom: The Last Dance. So I think the end of the universe was planning to be The Last Dance. Um, I did like how they kept the symbiote from the No Way Home mid-credit scene. They kept the symbiote in the MCU, but
Yeah.
contained it in that universe. So at least there's still symbiote in the MCU, especially after they recreated they essentially reshot the No Way Home mid-credit scene after Noel's opening monologue. So I like how they kept that intact and they kept the symbiote in the MCU. So I do like how none of that was retconned. I'm thankful that they did not toy with that, or else I would have been very, very upset. So yeah, Venom Last Dance is okay. It's at number 14 on the or sorry, 13 on the list. I'm trying to like keep counting up and down for the numbers. I forgot to list the numbers. So yeah, number 13 is Venom: The Last Dance. Number 12 is The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Again, like we've said earlier, this was one that just felt like a Sinister Six teaser movie instead of
One.
what
Did
is
I
it?
mention the Amazing Spider-Man 1 on my end?
I thought you did. I'm not sure if you did or not. I was
Okay.
thinking we did, but I'm not sure. I'll be sure to cover it here
Yeah,
on
you
my
go ahead and
list just
talk
in
about your
case.
Amazing Spider-Man 2 stuff, and I'll go ahead and I'll check through my stuff and see about where I've got Amazing Spider-Man 1. I think I might have skipped Spider-Man.
Okay. So yeah, Amazing Spider-Man 2 for me just is a Sinister Six teaser movie that never happens. I mean, not saying that it's a bad movie because like I said, we're now in the stretch of films where I don't necessarily think they're bad movies. They're just ones that I prefer the quality over others. And The Amazing Spider-Man 2 has always kind of just felt like the bottom of the barrel for me. It just feels like there's too much they're trying to set up that never really comes to fruition. I do think that the arc of Gwen, while tragic in the end, ends up feeling complete and just and not being able to see kind of how Andrew moved on too much after her death is just
Yeah.
kind of bummed me out. But we like in No Way Home, we do kind of further see that exploration as to how he continued to go on after Gwen's death. So yeah, that's kind of at the bottom for me is number 12 at The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Number 11 is Venom. This is probably the only SSU movie that I could watch and not really have a problem with. It feels like a solid origin story. I will say though, the runtime is very misleading because it's a 90-minute movie, but I think it's billed at like 110 minutes because of the I don't think it's a prologue, but like the extended preview of Into the Spider-Verse that would come out a couple months later in 2018. So yeah, I always have to forget that it's actually like like there's 20 minutes shaved off the actual runtime of the film. But no, it's a very, very solid origin story, I think. It couldn't have been done. Well, no, I'm not going to say that. It could have been done better, but for what they put to screen, it was done very well. So yeah, number 11 is
I've always
Venom.
personally, I've always
What
said to
is
me
it?
personally for Venom,
Oh, okay.
I've always said to me
Yeah.
personally, it was always frustrating about like I get not wanting to like to an extent not using the white spider because it's got connections to
Hmm.
Spider-Man. But with the
Right.
way the universe was handled, I've always said just like have like halfway through the movie, like when he gets the Venom symbiote, just have like
Hmm.
halfway through the movie, like of like at some point early on, Eddie's like walking past like a bar or something that's got like some graffiti on the side, and it's like the big white
Hmm.
spider, and they're walking by later
Yeah.
with Venom, and Venom's like, "Oh, that's cool," and there's like and like
Yeah.
adopts that as like an insignia. Like I mean, like it's not
Right.
connected to Spider Man, but like at least you would get that like actual because all you get in the trilogy now is you get like kind of like the flowing kind of like silly string kind of like tar like stuff that doesn't really have a symbol.
Right.
But yeah,
Right. Yeah. So yeah, number 11 is Venom. Number 10 is The Amazing Spider-Man. For a movie that was essentially made as a reboot of the Spider-Man character, I think it accomplished what it needed to kind of give a fresh spin on this character. Do I hate that they canceled Spider-Man 4 with Tobey Maguire and the possible inclusion of Vulture? Absolutely. But I think Andrew Garfield still is a great Spider-Man. The Amazing Spider-Man, number one, I think is where he really shines through. Aside from No Way Home, I think it's where he shines through the best. Number nine is Spider-Man: Homecoming. This is my least favorite of the MCU Spider-Man films, just because it feels like you said earlier. It just feels like he's whining about wanting to be an Avenger when he's trying to learn the entire movie that he's not quite there yet. I think it's also the worst paced film of Tom Holland's movies. And again, not saying it's bad, but there are just certain things that I prefer in the other MCU films I that rule over Homecoming for me. I'll still go back and rewatch Homecoming, but not as often as I have the other ones. Um, I do like Michael Keaton as Vulture, and I do think it is a good movie, but it is the bottom of the MCU for me. So number nine is Homecoming. Number eight is Far From Home. This, I think, delivered what I wanted it to at the time in 2019. It showed him really stepping up and becoming more of a hero, especially in the wake of Tony Stark, Iron Man's death. I love the Mysterio visuals, the Mysterio sequences are absolutely insane, and I just think they're wonderfully done. I'm not one that minds the Europe setting. Yes, Spider-Man is always belongs to New York, but I liked the fact that he was in Europe. Just kind of like how Amazing Spider-Man kind of gave a fresh vision to the character after Tobey Maguire's cancellation. Far From Home gave it a fresh spin as to, yeah, he could be Spider-Man anywhere, and he can always protect people. So I do think that was cool. And Far From Home definitely has a lot of redeeming moments for me that I like. And as you'll see with the rest of my ranking, I think that the MCU films have progressively gotten better. So yeah, number eight is Far From Home. Number seven is Into the Spider-Verse. I know that number seven's a little lower than most people's Spider-Man rankings, but and again, don't hate any of these films, but Into the Spider-Verse, I do need to go back and rewatch. I didn't hate it the first time I watched it, but there are a lot of things that I do need to go back and pick up on. It's a wonderful movie. I think it's animated so well, and Across the Spider-Verse, I think, is where it starts to really pick back up. But yeah, Into the Spider-Verse is number seven for me. Number six is Spider-Man 3. I'll never not hate Spider-Man 3 just because of that emotional connection that I have to Tobey Maguire's character in it. But there are, of course, things that needed worked on. I think that the villain balance is okay, but it does feel kind of sloppy at times. But overall, I can watch Spider-Man 3 anytime and have fun with it. Number five is No Way Home. I think that including Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield back into a Spider-Man movie after all their time away was amazing. Being able to actually integrate them into the third act and not just have them as cameos, I think was a brilliant move. And I, again, will never not love that movie, being able to see all of the Spider-Man and the villains together. So No Way Home cracks the top five for me. Number four is Across the Spider-Verse. Like I said, I feel like this one really amplified where Into the Spider-Verse left off. I'm very excited to see Beyond the Spider-Verse next summer. And Across the Spider-Verse, I feel like is a near perfect Spider-Man film just because of how much it delivers, not only on a story basis, but also because of delivering fan service as well, being able to just see how everything fits together. And like I said, we'll be able to see that trilogy wrap up next summer and beyond. So that is number 4 for me. Number 3 is Brand New Day.
What we were talking about earlier with
Mhm.
Across, how do you feel about
Yeah.
the ending? How does the ending affect you personally?
I loved it. I thought it was great. And if there was going to be any kind of pin drop moment, it
Yeah.
was going to be that. It was going to be something in another universe with a universal threat, such as the Prowler. And to see that Miles in that universe take on the Prowler it was insane. I thought that it was a great ending, and I'm excited to see how it's resolved.
It doesn't
And I'll kind of, I just gotta. What is it?
It doesn't feel like an incomplete movie to you, though.
No, absolutely not. I feel like you said, with Gwen's narration throughout, she kind of gave a complete arc of how she's seeing things in the movie. So yeah, I think it's a complete film. I'm not gonna. I mean, do I obviously know that they're gonna resolve it? Yes, because it ends with to be continued. But other than that, I've never thought that it's incomplete at all. I think you could watch it and have fun with it and still get all the major beats. So yeah, number 4 is Across the Spider-Verse. Number 3 is Brand New Day. I absolutely loved Brand New Day. I have little to no notes on it just because of how much I enjoyed it. I loved the inclusion of Jean Grey. I thought that it was the action sequences and swinging were all done wonderfully. And if Destin Daniel Cretton wants to direct more Spider-Man movies in the future, Sony, please let him, because he did fantastic with it. Number 2 is Sam Raimi's original Spider-Man. I will never not have a soft spot, like I said, for this trilogy. Tobey Maguire is my boy. He is my Spider-Man. And I absolutely love the first Spider-Man. But what could possibly be better than first Spider-Man and all the others? That's my number 1, is Spider-Man 2. There is just no topping Spider-Man 2, I don't think. It'd be impossible to, because that is a perfect superhero movie. So kind of just to recap the list here again. Number 17, Madam Web. Number 16, Kraven the Hunter. Number 15, Morbius. Number 14, Venom Let There Be Carnage. Number 13, Venom The Last Dance. Number 12, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Number 11, Venom. Number 10, The Amazing Spider-Man. Number 9, Spider-Man Homecoming. Number 8, Spider-Man Far From Home. Number 7, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Number 6, Spider-Man 3. Number 5, Spider-Man No Way Home. Number 4, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Number 3, Spider-Man Brand New Day. Number 2, Spider-Man. And number 1, Spider-Man 2. And to, I know I don't think I mentioned to you just a minute, but my phone is about to die, so I know I said I wouldn't go too much into the films, but I don't think I'll be able to, and I also have plans I need to get to later. But this was a blast, man. I enjoyed myself, and we'll definitely have to see about doing future streams as well, whenever those happen.
All right, cool.
All right. Well. All right. Well.
All right, man. We'll take it easy then.
You cut out for a second. All right. Yeah. Take it easy. Y'all take care too.
All right. Bye.